Comedian Nazareth, and this is actually uh, hello, hello, hello. This is the Laughter for All podcast. It's hard when you have two shows. You kind of remember which show are you on today right now. Well, welcome to episode 124 of the Laughter for All podcast, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. It's just been great. It's great doing these podcasts because, I bring my friends on the show and I get to enjoy the inside story, the stuff that we don't talk about when we're just, together. Hello, how are you? And all that, that small talk. So it's really good to have you. So thank you for joining us. And I just want to remind you if you're in Florida, in Port Charlotte, this Friday night, I'll be at. What do you call it? At a church in Port Charlotte, a big church called New Day Christian Church. So I'll be there this Friday night, and so it's really good. It's on April's Fool. I'm doing a comedy show, but I don't want to take much time because my guest to tonight, he's a very, 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 very funny comedian, and we worked few times together, and then COVID lost touch with us, and then we got together. He came to see my show at the Lancaster Performing Arts Center last month, and I'm like, Mr. Griffith, I need to have you on my podcast. And he just graciously said yes. I want to officially introduce him. So he is Anthony Griffith. He's an Emmy Award winner for his outstanding performance in the TV drama Our Father. This former escape artist, handcuffs, chains, straitjackets, abilities range from intense drama to stand-up comedy. Anthony was destined to make you laugh. Married, growing up in the inner city, and reared by a religious mother, all helped lay the foundation for Anthony's hilarious insights about life, liberty, and the pursuit of sanity. And I just wanted to say some of the shows he does. He'd been on Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen, Comedy Central's Premium Blend, Tonight Show 3 times with Johnny Carson. That right there, hands down, people. This is 3 times on Johnny Carson and 3 times on Jay Leno Tonight Show. He's been on the Arsenio Hall Show 6 times, Comic Strip Live 7 times, Showtime Comedy Special, Evening at the Improv, Star Stare. She was a finalist with Ed McMahon. VH1 Comedy hosted by Rosie O'Donnell, and many other shows. Please welcome to the show my friend, the funny man, Anthony Griffith. Anthony, welcome.
Thank you. When I was reading, when you were reading, I was going, wow, what you were talking about?
Yes, I was talking about you, and it just, you know what? I have to apologize. I did not know all that. I've been your friend. I've been dealing with you a lot, and when
Yes.
we were doing the shows together, but I didn't know you were on Carson 3 times and on Leno 3 times. I know how. What was that like? Was that?
The first time with Carson, I was scared. Um, I was petrified, so I didn't. I don't even remember the show. What I do remember um, was that after the show, I was going to my car, and Carson was going to his um, car, and he came to me and said, "Hey, you were real funny tonight. Get ready, because I'm going to bring you back." And that was the first time. He was the first person that told me that, "Hey, I'm coming back a second time." Yeah,
Yeah,
just a quiet moment between two guys, and yeah, so that was cool. But
I went.
everything else, I didn't remember.
This is, it's always been a dream of every comic to appear even once. I mean, one of my dreams was to be on the Carson show at least once. But
Yes,
you think, that if you go on Carson, the career is going to open up. It's going to be so easy. But I want to just set up the foundation of the show right now and say
Yeah.
that you are the only comic I know that been through that much pain and that much suffering with MS, losing your child, and just your upbringing, being from Chicago, coming to here, so all that pain. So I wanna talk about your trajectory in
Yes.
your career as an actor and a comedian, but also how you dealt with that pain. So I want to start with, you came from Chicago, you wanted to become an actor, right?
No, I wanted to be I first wanted to be a hockey player.
Really?
Yes, but I could not master skating backwards. And
You-
I was told that that was required. You have to be able to skate back good, and I couldn't skate backwards to save my life. So that forced me to be an escape artist. I love Houdini. I love getting out of the chains, and um, I will be so happy for Christmas. I got a straight jacket, and I told my mom. And so then when people would come over, I would say, "Hey, you want to see me get out my straight jacket?" And people would go, "Well, we didn't know you had a straight jacket, and I don't think that's good that you can get out." So
Uh, so you, let's see, you growing up, I heard the story how your father was attacking your mother. You were 4 years old. Tell
yes,
us about that, just to establish the
uh,
beginning of Anthony Griffith.
yeah, he was abusive, and we had to flee, and um, we flee literally with just um, the clothes on our back, and my mom had me in one hand, and my brother in the other hand, and we went to Big Mama house, and Big Mama's like your grandmother, and we knew my father was not coming there because she had, um, she had a gun. She was easy, ample to use it, and she had two guard dogs, and it was safe there. But that's literally where we spent the next few years. Yeah. Hmm.
And why? So when did you feel like, all right, you said so you wanted to leave Chicago to come to LA to be a hockey player, not run an actor or a comedian.
No, no. I only came here because California because of stand up. In college, uh, I did stand up, and you try to work every place you can, and there weren't any really comedy clubs. So, I did whatever I can. I performed at a bowling alleys, at grocery stores, at restaurants, at uh, people's houses that can we say suck on your show?
Yeah,
Because
you can.
a lot of those shows sucked. They were not. They were not uh, comparable to a comic, but you wanted to learn the business. Yeah. So I think because of I had a lot of therapy that helped me move forward. Yeah. But just working and not even thinking about California. Um, Not thinking that you would be on TV. I just was working, and I think what helped me was Star Search became big at that time, and Star Search was doing national um, auditions,
For
and
talent.
yes, and that's when I did it. And for people who are young and don't know what Star Search was the America's Got Talent back in the
Yes.
day. Yeah.
And that kind of like opened the door for you to be on the Tonight Show and the and the other
Yeah,
shows and the
yeah,
clubs.
yeah. Even on the Star Search, if I don't think you can get those shows, but if you do, you will see. Because I didn't have any money, and I think um, I had I bought shirts that cost a total of $69. And if you see the shows, you will see that my shirts would rotate. They would rotate.
Uh,
They would rotate. I always had the same pants because I had a pair of pants to fly in and a pair of pants to leave. So yeah, it was an experience because I didn't know TV. Um, Yeah. So and they just said, well, you you we'll fly you back home once you lose, and it's just I kept winning, and I kept winning, and I kept winning, and then I was uh, um, I was uh, I was going for the championship with against a good friend of mine, also from Chicago, Michael Collier.
Michael Collier, yes, yes, yes. He
Yes, he's
won it
from
that year.
Chicago as well, and we're good friends. And it was like, but he California a little bit longer, so he knew the road. But we were good friends and still are friends. Yeah. Mhm.
And
So I made
now,
a lot of
when you did the Tonight Show first time, in your head
yes,
was going, I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna get my shows. Everything gonna be great. And your trajectory was different because you didn't expect you're going to have MS one day. You didn't expect you're going to lose your child. So tell us
yes.
about that. What was the dream, and what was the reality? I'll let you talk about that.
Okay, I'll start with the reality. And doing the show, um, my 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 daughter had cancer, and it was uh, and then it came back. It went into remission. We came out to California. The cancer came back. So when I did the first of the night show, um, I would finish the show and go straight home because my wife was ministering to my daughter. Um, and the second time, our daughter was in the hospital, so I would do the show. I would go to the children's hospital because my daughter was there. So every time, so I never thought because man, I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going shows are going to open because I was dealing with life
Mm.
to the 10th power. So I was just trying to get back home to see my daughter and my wife, if that makes sense. Yeah.
A lot of people who are not comedians or are not performers don't understand that, but you can. I mean, at one point, the day my dad died, I was on stage. I had to go on stage, and knowing that after the show I'm gonna go and he's gonna die. But what were you? How can you switch? How can you be funny, but deep inside you're crying. Your daughter's dying, or your daughter's in the hospital. How do you give people who don't understand performance, how do you deal with that? How do you handle it?
Yeah, I think we put it all into a box, and you're like, hey, I need to do this, and then I'll go back to reality once I do the because the third time I did the Tonight Show, my daughter had passed. So
Mm,
the Tonight Show really didn't mean anything to me. but I still have to make people laugh, and that's my job. And yeah, so I think we put on hold so we can do what we do, like you said with your father, and then you go back to doing dealing with reality. Yeah, reality doesn't stop just because um, uh, uh, you're on the show. And like
Right.
we're going to talk about MS later, the fact that I have MS does not stop the fact that I, I, I don't have to pay my bills. I don't have to, um, you know, pay my taxes. Just because you have a chronic disease, so the life of the world is going okay, and right, you know,
You know,
everybody,
uh,
yeah,
how's your wife handle this? Like for you, sometimes when we go on stage, it's kind of like an escape for us, even though
yes,
it is work. It's just an
yes.
escape from the reality. How did your wife handle the situation with your daughter dying and all that?
Well, there's an old saying of Pastor Rick of us Saddleback Church. He said,
Rick Warren, yeah.
uh, "Yeah, use your pain to help others." And because of that, my wife eventually became a doctor specializing in children,
Mm,
specializing in um, helping um, helping uh, families cope with loss and
mm,
children, right? And that's due to because she saw what we were going through, being young parents, and we would go into certain rooms where kids would just be by themselves. There would be no parents because that
oh,
parent had to work. Um, well, that parent, their only parent is their grandmother, and so God's, there's a part in the Bible that God will use that for good, and I think that spawned my wife to become. She had a mission. She was going
mm.
to um, minister to others who are going through the same stuff that we were going through. Yeah. And that's why
Yeah,
she's Dr. B. Yeah.
Dr. B,
Yeah.
you have there's something on YouTube that I want everybody to watch. It's called The Moth, where you talk about your story. And you were saying while your daughter was going through cancer, and you had to pay the bills, and you have to, the car was almost getting repossessed. You're almost getting evicted, and you're trying to do all that, and I'm trying. Were you mad at God for like why me having to deal all that and now with the
I,
MS?
yeah. I wasn't mad at him. I just didn't understand. There,
Mm,
I didn't understand why um, this was happening because taught. I'm a nice guy. I don't
you
I'm not
are.
I'm not going to rob you. I pay my taxes at church. I tithe. So I so it was just confusion. Why is this happening? But God sees you in the past, in the present, in the future, and and like God was saying, hey, you're going to be able to use a lot of people because of this. Yeah. So when people say, I can't do this, I can't go on because I lost uh, a spouse or a loved one, you will
Uh-huh.
say, yes, you can. It hurts now, but believe me, you have to because you might have other kids, you might have your spouse. Yeah, but it
N-
definitely, I won't lie, it does shake you. Yeah.
Right. Now, you said something once. You said the audience doesn't want to see hear about your pain. They want you to be happy and funny. And that, have you ever talked about or tried in a humorous way to talk about your pain, your loss, and all that?
Um, we would tell people, and they would start crying, and eventually we would have to pick them up. So it was like that's too hard, that's too heavy for people to go. They don't want to even conceive of something like that might happen to. No one wants to think of what would happen if their child, um, they lost their child. No one wants to think about if they get a chronic illness. So yeah, a lot. So we stopped sharing with people that yeah we lost a child because they didn't want to be around us. It's like here comes the
Ah,
couple that's we, we they can't celebrate their children um
ah,
because
ah,
yeah I have a good friend. He's a comic. We've been knowing each other for 30 years. He has no kids, but he had a dog, and his
uh-huh.
dog died, and he cried like a baby. And he didn't share with me that story for a long time because he said, "Hey, you lost your child. I have no right to tell you about loss, but loss is loss. Loss,
Right.
loss. I don't care if it's your parent, um, your job that you've had for 30 years, and now you lose that, um, your loved one, or in my friend's case, he loved his dog. His dog was his pet. I mean, his dog was his
His child.
child. Yes.
When was the first time after the loss of your daughter that you actually went on stage? How long after where you said, I love my job. I'm really enjoying being on stage.
Um, it took a while. It took a while because, like my wife and I said, the first 10 years after our daughter passed, we were literally just walking through life. And then maybe 10 years later, we start here smelling the roses, because you can still function and still hurt. You
Hmm.
can still function and just do things matter of factly. Yeah. So it took like you said before, I really enjoy. I could still do comedy,
Right.
but then after about 10 years, I really started to enjoy what I do. Yeah.
Right. Let me ask you this. Some comics say I have to be in the right mood to write. I have to be, everything has to be perfect to write. How did you write new material while you were, grieving and struggling and going to the hospital and back? You had to come up with new material for the Tonight shows and all
Yeah.
that. How did you do that, Anthony?
It's he's since passed the talent coordinator for the Tonight Show. Um, we would sit down and he would say, okay, and I would tell him the jokes I would like, and he would go, okay, what else? What else you got? And that was his process. I would keep telling him jokes that I thought up with, and he would just say, okay, what else you got? Because he knew it was not beneficial for the Tonight Show because he knew my jokes were getting dark, not
Mm.
blue, but this dark. And he knew for
Mm-hmm.
the Tonight Show, but he never said you can't do that. That's stupid. He would just say, okay, what else you got? And then eventually, it would come out that where his jokes, this joke is sort of corny, um,
Mm,
but he would say, "Yeah, I like that one. Let's keep that one. What else you got?"
mm,
And that's how he nurtured me through this grief or ordeal. Just the yeah, he would just he would listen like a therapist. Just listen, just listen, just a therapist. Just let you, like when people get angry or mad or frustrated, the therapist job is just to let you do what you do, and that's what I tell people. Hey, when you lose someone, you have the right to um, um, have all the emotions that you think: anger, upset, disappointed, mad at God. Because you know what? God is big enough. He said, that's okay. I can take that. I know where you're going. You're in that caterpillar moment. So
mm.
uh, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And slowly, that's that morning, you will get where you can take a deep breath and exhale and go, I finally get all that stuff out. And the therapist, the talent coordinator would just go, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I was able to do that. And without me knowing, I was able to then do the Tonight Show with Jake Leno. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you've done Leno 3 times, you've done Carson 3 times, you've done Arsenio Hall for 6 times. Who was your favorite? Who did you feel more relaxed with?
Well, with Carson, it was like performing for your father. Man, I can't mess
Mm,
up. It's my father. Jay Leno was like your brother, your big
mm,
brother, and you're both comics. And
right.
yeah, so I would say Jay Arsenio was cool, but I would say more Jay because Jay was he knows comedy. He's
Mm.
he's been in the road. He's been in the grind. He understands. Yeah, and even now
And
he's doing comedy. Yeah.
you received an Emmy for your role in on Our Father,
Yes.
the television drama Our Father. How did that
Yes.
feel?
You know, I think maybe it's my protection. I never think about it. I never go, yeah, yeah, I'm going to get this award. Because to me, this is what I there's a movie, an old movie. My wife and I were talking about it, called The Oscars. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's a
Is
good
that
movie.
with Chris Rock and Will Smith or
No.
no?
I was trying not to go there for the
I
as it
know I'm
goes,
dating the show. I want to hear your opinion on it.
but it's an old movie called The Oscars, and it's
uh,
about uh, a guy who's not he's not a nice he's not a nice guy, and he's an actor, and he gets
mm,
nominated, and he thinks he starts he's showing his true color, and then at the end, I won't tell you the end in case you get to see it, but
mm.
yeah, so I don't even I never think about um, uh, awards, and I think that has a lot to do with my my father, my stepfather, because when I would come home after doing the Tonight Show with Johnny 3 times, he was like, okay. It meant nothing to him, To, he was like, uh, he never took it as, okay, you make money doing that. That was his world. But his friends was like, no, he's been on the Tonight Show, and he would go, okay, Whereas my mom, totally different. When I took my mom to the Tonight Show, she had on what's called, I know, a church hat. You know,
Yeah,
the
the church.
women with the big church hats. She was there on the Tonight Show. So after the show, she was shaking people's hands to let them, that young man, that's my son. That young man,
Oh,
that's my son. He's that young man, that's what. Right. But even though she would start off, I don't want anybody to know
hmm.
I'm at the show. I'm your mom. Okay, mom. I won't tell anybody. Okay, but she had a big hat. She was shaking people's hand. Yeah, and even now
Once
when
she found out you were funny, then she started telling
yes,
everybody. Before, like, in case you bomb, I don't want him.
right.
I don't want him to know.
Yes, 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 exactly. And even before she passed, she she would try to play like she knew all the comedy clubs. Yes, three comics, right? Now you're the MC, or you're the middle, or she swears she knew the 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 role of a comedian. Yeah, but
What is your best bet? If God said to you, "Hey, Anthony, you can either only do acting, you either can do comedy. What would you pick?"
as much as I would love acting, I would still
Mm,
think it would be comedy because
mm,
comedy is instantaneous. People
uh-huh,
let you know if you're funny or you suck right after the joke, especially Afro Americans. We are
uh,
the hardest critics. We laugh the loudest, but man, if they will be honest. I don't think you're funny. A lot of my family, a lot of my friends, Griff, I don't think you're funny. I don't think you're gonna make it. They're always, because I was never the funniest. I was never the funny in my neighborhood, in
mm,
my family. But I think I had perseverance. I think
mm,
this is funny. I think I'm going to keep trying. Yeah, but you suck. Okay, okay, but I'm gonna still. And your family hurt you, but I have aunts. They were twins. They have since fans. They were my biggest fans, and they were street people, homeless. They were
mm,
because um, they had dealt with drugs, and they
uh-huh.
were so they were on the street. But you want to tell the my biggest fans, it was my aunts, because they would be on the
Oh,
street. My 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 nephew got on Star Search, and people go, yeah, whatever. No, I'm trying to tell you, his name is Tony. And then they would go, um, and I have friends who would go, hey Griff, this homeless lady said that she's your aunt, and I go, yeah, yeah, that's her.
that's
And because
uh,
you don't tell people that hey, that drug dealer, that homeless person, that, yeah, is your relative. Yeah, who does that?
right.
But they do. They do,
You
because they're
know,
so
you know,
proud of you. Yeah.
I appreciate that about you, Tony, because you're very honest, you're very
Yes.
open, and in your act, you just talk. And what do you call it? When did you start finding out you have MS, and how did you react to it initially?
You know, I was well, I didn't know what MS was, and one day uh, I went blind, and so I could see my sight was dimming, and I
Hmm.
I was on what what the 405 or 134, and I was like, oh, I got to get up. I I thought it was raining, except
Mm.
my sight got worse and worse. Man, I better pull over, and I tried to get to a park to park the car, but I think I had uh, 60%. I have 20% eyesight, and
Oh.
so I I left the car where it was, and I walked because I could still hear people, I could still feel people, I mean smell people. Um,
Hmm.
so it's a cool thing that, like they say, when one sense, uh, when you lose sense, one sense, your other senses are amplified.
Oh. So
So I
did you still lost 80? Are you still now only at 20% vision?
no, no,
No, it came back.
some of it. So
Okay.
like when you and I did a show,
Uh-huh.
I think it was in Nashville.
Yeah, when we did Nashville together.
Yeah, and the young lady was the host, blonde hair.
Hmm.
Um,
Shonda.
yes, yes. At that point, I was literally 50. I was legally blind. So
Uh,
therefore, um, during the show, I would tell, you would, I knew to count my steps. I counted my
right.
steps, and I knew to stay, the mic was there, like 5 steps. If
Mm.
I did 5 steps, I the mic was right there. There, I could tell them to do the show, and I would just stay there until they went and were off. Yeah.
Mm.
So stuff like that, because um, when I went blind, uh, I I talked to my neurologist, um, and I asked him. I said, uh, my MS, that has anything to do with my blindness, have anything to do with my MS? He said, oh no, no. And I said, sure? Are you sure? Because I've never went blind before. Are you
Right.
sure? No, no. Anything but not your MS. I was part of the MS group at the time, and I talked to them, and I said, oh, by the way, just a question. Has anyone ever went blind before? Everybody's hand raised.
You need to change the neurologist.
That's what I did. Yeah. Everybody's hand went up. Yes. What is it? Left hand, left eye, right eye, both eyes? How long? Right. So right away, I knew that, okay, the professionals, the experts don't know everything concerning MS. So um, my wife wanted me. I enrolled at the Braille Institute, so I'm very thankful to the Braille
Mm.
Institute for the blind, because it's all about um, having purpose, even though you're blind. So, so everybody had their canes, who were there. So they had classes to teach you how to count your money, how to
Mm.
um, pick out your clothes, how to cook, um, and all the students were blind
Wow.
because the school independent living. Yeah.
So you got out of your car, you started walking, you didn't know what's going on. And when did you find it was MS, and how did you like, whoa, this is not on my schedule, it's not on my plans.
Right. I um after we went to the hospital and talked to the other doctors, and because again, I didn't know what MS was. Um, a neurologist said, "I think you have MS," because back then only white women supposedly had MS, so it couldn't have
Ah.
been MS because you're a black male, so you don't have MS. So,
Hmm.
and again, the experts now, it's like, well, that's not true because who's the good Montel Williams
Williams. Yeah.
has MS. He's black and he's a male. Yeah. So everybody was trying to figure out, or MS doesn't strike youngsters, and we're finding out there's junior MS. There's so MS. We don't know yet what MS is. We just know it's your immune system fighting itself. So it's
Hmm.
almost like you having a guard dog that protects everybody else, and then one day the dog doesn't recognize you and starts barking at you. That's what MS is. Your
Hmm.
body is constantly fighting itself, even though it's trying to repair itself, if that makes sense.
How are you managing it? Because I heard that like maybe sometimes it starts slowly, and some people it gets worse, and some people it maintains the same. How you managing that?
You know, my wife is good, is great because my diet changed because there's a
Mm.
lot of stuff that just just try to suck. There's a lot of stuff that
CRAP.
that is not good for you. But I knew that when I was on the road before I got in mass, that because all this fast food, constant as a comic, you're eating fast food every day, and eventually my body just said no more, and it just shut down.
Mm.
This is not nutritious. I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to eat this. So, you're on the road, you're eating Burger King, you're eating McDonald's, you're eating Jack in the Box. And my
Right.
body just said, no more. It wasn't until I moved to California and I read a book called Diet for a New America that
Mm.
it made me think of like, oh, okay, the reason uh, this hurts, I can't do this, this hurt, and this is all before MS, is because um, my diet and I have a friend, a grade school friend. She's now nutrient,
A
nutrient,
nutritionist.
but she's not. She's not naturopathic
Oh,
doctor.
naturopathic doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, and she said, "You know what, Tony? You probably had MS longer than you thought, but because you were young, you could fight this stuff off. You're athletic, you can do all this stuff." But she said, so my I had to change my diet. Um, Salads are my friends. Uh,
Ah,
Water is my friend, even though I grew up drinking um, pop.
soda.
How they see out here, soda. Yeah, but in the
Yeah.
Midwest, pop. You
It's pop.
always,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You got a Coke or you got a Sprite, but to get water is like, ugh, what's that? But water, you need water. Yeah. And it's MS. Water helps your electrons, your limbs from one connect to one limb to another next limb. So water, yeah. So a salad, water, um, You know,
That's
I only I fast every day. Um, but so I only eat like 2 meals a day. Like your
mm,
parents would always tell you, your grandparents, hey, um, you don't want to eat too heavy. Uh,
uh,
so they will eat at the most 6, 7 o'clock. That's it. Because you need
uh.
my wife, because she grew up Muslim,
Oh,
she only eats once a day.
oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you wrote the book called "Behind the
Behind the
Laughter."
laughter.
What was that about? How did you? I mean, what was it about?
Behind the laughter is a journey of getting to Hollywood and getting to the Tonight Show with us with everything that was going down in life. Yeah,
Mm,
it's my wife and I how we met, because like I said, um, she grew in a Muslim household, and I grew up in a Christian household, and yet God had already planned in advance, predestined that we were going to be married. Yeah.
mm. Now, you're working on a new book right now. It's a thriller book, a Christian thriller.
It's a Christian uh, thriller. Is I had the word for what you said, uh, it's not scientist, it's um, it'll come back to me. It's a thriller. Yes, a Christian thriller. Yeah.
So
Hmm.
you can't say too much about it, huh?
Well, because of COVID, when COVID came, it stopped everything.
Right.
I had just finished the book tour, and the COVID, it shut us down as entertainers. We couldn't do stand up on the road. We couldn't
Right.
do cruise ships. We couldn't. No, there was no acting. So I said, God, well, you decide. You decide where you want me to go. You decide what you want me to do. Uh,
Mm,
and then when I felt that He wanted me to write a second book, then I asked God to, you help me write it. You
mm,
help me write it. So the book is all um, about a young man that finds the Lord, and yeah, and how it affects himself, his wife, his not his wife, but his family. Yeah.
mm. How did you find the Lord? How did you stay with the Lord during all this
Well,
tribulations and
my
trials?
mom is a prayer warrior, and my mom, uh, she would I would think it was 5:30, 6 in the morning. She would play gospel,
Mm,
uh, and that's how. And your kids, and man, we would hated that. And I remember my brother was 16, and it was a showdown. He was not going to go to church, and
ooh,
my mom was, I'm not going to whoop you. I'm not going to cuss you out. I'm not going to hit you. She just said, okay, you don't want to go to church? Okay, good. Okay. All right. And then my brother went to turn on the TV, and he said, Mom, what are you doing? No, you don't go to church. You don't watch TV.
right.
And so then my brother went, well, I'm going to go outside to play. I went, no, you don't go to church. You can't go
You
out
don't
to
get
play with your friends. So it's your choice. You can do whatever you want. If you don't want to go to church, you don't have to go to church, but you can't do anything else. So then, so I learned always from my brother. I would see what he wouldn't do, the trouble he would get into, and I knew not to do that. So
Oh,
uh, church church was good, but I could truly honestly say I was a baby Christian up until I was about I'm going to say my 30s. In my 30s, an older Christian in my church had said, "I want. Could you teach uh, um,
at
Sunday
Sunday
school
school?
for
Yeah.
the youth, junior
Hi.
high?" Yeah,
Yeah.
and you got three kids, Nas. Eh, for a junior high, they had every question and then some that I couldn't answer. Do do angels have sex? Do the so it forced me to go back to Bible study and
Hmm.
learning the myths about the Bible. Yeah, and
Oh.
that I think is when I became uh, a more mature Christian. Yeah, because I couldn't
Oh.
answer um, what's the difference between um, a, a, a Buddhist and a Christian. They're both
Hmm.
they're nice. They're both are good. What's the difference? And I couldn't answer the kids, and
So that
I
got
couldn't
you back
answer.
to reading the Word. That's
Yes,
that. God has a has a great way of doing stuff like that.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Or when you die, what happens? I couldn't answer. I couldn't. So I was literally a baby Christian because I could not lead anybody to Christ, or I could not um, justify why you should be a Christian other than because I heard this guy named Jesus that
Mm.
for people on the street, okay, and right. So I
Yeah.
had to find in the Bible how to justify what I believe, if that makes sense.
Amen.
Yeah.
It does
And,
make sense. Peter
and
tells us we have to always be ready to give a response, an answer to those who ask
yes,
us about
yes.
the faith.
And
Now,
and yes, go ahead.
you did your dry bar special, and it's called "Laughing at MS."
Yes.
How did that feel? What kind of how did you laugh at MS?
Um because I still have a sense of humor. And I still, especially with the MS, it made me, my wife and I always laugh. And, I would go to comedy clubs and I would, you're trying out your jokes to people without them knowing that you're trying them out as a comic. That's one of the skills that you have because if you say, hey, tell me if you think this is funny, they're going to shut down. But if you just, and in conversation, talk about MS, uh, sitting down and yeah, so stuff that I thought was funny, like I said, the fact that the doctor tells me that only white women get MS and I'm black, and he's telling me to my face. I think that's funny. I
That's
think it's
funny.
so
Yeah.
stupid, and
Wow.
the fact that you're blind, but um, the doctors go, no, that's not MS. And I'm going, but it is. It's not, I never went blind except. So stuff like that. Yeah.
That's funny. And did it came out? When did it come out?
I think it came out a month ago.
Okay, good. I want everyone to go and to Dry Bar Comedy or to Facebook and just put Dry Bar Comedy. And in this last moment, you still perform, you still do corporation, you still do churches. You've done the Apostles of Comedy, which was a very successful tour, a Christian tour. Uh, where are you working now? Where are you performing now lately?
Right now, I'm just concentrating on the book because
Uh-huh.
uh, um, the country is slowly opening up again. But
Hmm.
churches are still hesitant to do things. So again, let God lead me. You lead me. You take care of me. And uh, during COVID, several things I found out. I found out through COVID, um, both my grandparents, I never met them before. Both were preachers. One had
Oh.
one had a prison ministry. One had uh, ministry on the radio. Never knew because my father, biological father, ran so far away from church.
Mm.
So it was funny to discover that. And also with COVID, when we saw you, it was amazing that, you know, during COVID, my wife said um, she wanted to have a business in the AV, and she wanted a 4 bedroom house. She wanted a
Mm.
4 bedroom house, 3 bedroom, and I always tell people if you prayed something to God, make sure it's specific. So when it's answered by God, you don't think, well, something I did is I accidentally came up on this. Uh, I worked hard. No, she wanted a 4 bedroom house, a 3 bedroom, 3 bathrooms, and she wanted 10 minutes from her practice because she has a practice now.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I just want a one level so I don't have to go up and down stairs. And we prayed, we fasted on it, we put seed money, financial seed, we tithe more, um, and all of a sudden, uh, the real estate person said, "Hey, there's a house, but it's a unicorn, and that's a unicorn is a house that where you're not going to get it, you're not going to get it, and it's you have to see it in one day." And we said,
Mm.
okay. And we went there. And as soon as I went in, I said, okay, we'll take it. You don't want to see the other houses that we have? No, because this house answered our prayer.
Uh-huh.
And I knew that, okay, 10 minutes from my wife's uh, practice, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 3 bath, one level. And yeah. And so
So
that
God
was
gave you the house.
God gave us the house. Yes,
You
yes.
know, about being specific, I was just thinking about that. 30 years ago, when I wrote my goals and I prayed 20 some years, I said, Lord, I want to live in $1 million home. And $1 million home, it was like on the beach, it's a mansion, 6 bedroom,
Yes.
7 bath, $1 million home. The other day, I checked on my house. It's a 3 bedroom house in Corona. It's a million
Yes.
dollar home. I'm like, Lord, when I ask for $1 million home, you have to add inflation, Lord. You have to
Yes. Yes.
adjust for inflation. I wanted to drive a German car. Now I have a 130,000 Audi on it. Yeah,
Yes,
but
but
as we,
you have a beautiful story when you talked about in your show about uh, your wife wanting to meet a Christian man and
yeah,
vice
yeah, our
versa.
testimony.
Yeah. Hmm.
No, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. God has just answered me. I want you to encourage in this, and you'll be the perfect guy to encourage people who are like, oh Lord, why is this happening? What is this happening? Oh no, I don't want this. I'm getting a cold, Lord. I don't know why you allow this to happen in my life. How do you encourage people? Someone like you had MS, you lost your daughter to cancer, you're just, you struggled with a lot of stuff, but you're still, have your faith in the Lord. You're still maintaining your career, which is a hard career as an entertainer,
Yes.
but you're
Yeah, it's
still
a
doing that.
grind, definitely.
It's a
I would
grind.
tell anyone first, like if you lost a child or any loved one, if you study the Bible, understand God. First of all, because I just lost a cousin who was suffering from um, lupus just the
Mm,
other day, and and I'm going. And my prayer was not to heal him, but God's will be done. And
mm-hmm.
God was like, okay, I'm going to remove his pain. I'm going to remove the sadness, suffering. I'm going to praise him with me, next to me. And so that's how got me over my daughter. It was like, hey, the perfect babysitter is God. I know where
Ah,
I know where she's at. I know she's getting constant, constant care, and the Bible said, "I will see her again."
amen.
So,
That's
if
our hope.
anything, I have bittersweet tears because she's there with my parents, and I'm here because there's still work to be done for me and my wife here. So,
Amen.
um, that would be because people have lost a lot of loved ones during the COVID, and if they are believers, understand they're in a better place. They're with God.
Amen. Wow. Wow, that's powerful. How can people get a hold of you, Anthony? How can they book you to speak at their church, at their events, at their company, at their nonprofit, or how can they get the book in the future and all that? How
Well,
can they
on
do that?
my website is simply anthonygriffith.com. Yeah, you can go to my
AnthonyGriffith.com.
website. Yeah, and the book will tell you where to get the book. You can get it all um, outlets for bookstores, Amazon, um, and you can do audio or uh, regular book. But and
Yeah,
it's
Audible.
and, yeah, and it's great audible because for those who are now they say low vision. If you have low vision,
Right,
um, that the audible books are great because at the Braille Institute, they're all audible books. They're not no
right,
one can read, and so
right.
and
Did you
so
did
yeah.
you did
So
you did you have a publicist or you published it yourself? Self-published.
now this is God again. So you know how you try to get you're in Hollywood trying to get the top uh, agent. You
Uh-huh.
keep saying, "Oh, if I can get William Morris, if I can get whatever big ones,
CIA or
CA,
CA.
right?" So, um, big agent at William Morris was looking at the Moth, tearing up, going, "Who is this guy?
Mm,
Who is this guy? I want to do something with him."
wow.
People check. He's just down the street in a sense. He's in Hollywood,
Mm,
called a William Morris called us. We want to make a movie about you, your wife, your book. Flew us out to New York, get an agent, Morris, and I think Win Morris and Endeavor are together.
Hmm.
So now a movie based on our life will be coming. Now I don't. I'm not. This is above my pay grade. I don't know when it's going to come out. What's I know they're in the casting stage, but yeah. And again, me constantly knocking, trying to get to William Morris as an actor, as a comic, nothing.
Right.
But a person saw the Moth and went, "Who's this guy? I want to work with him." So that was God's way of just putting things in order, moving at His timetable, at God's
Amen.
timetable. Yeah, because what the
Amen.
Bible, yeah, God is not God. God is not a man that He should lie, and God is above time. Time is for us, but God is above time. Yeah. So
Amen. Amen. What an
that's what
encouragement.
yeah, that's what we're doing now. So yes, you might think this life is hard, and it will, but it might be right there. But God has a bigger has a bigger picture. God is we're looking we're like Southwest who fly at a certain speed, and then you know American, and so God sees all. He's looking down. Has an aerial shot. Yeah.
Yes. Amen.
And
Well, thank you so much, Anthony,
thank
for
you.
your time with us. Thank you for an example to so many comedians, artists, actors, and everyone else. We love you so much. I can't wait to perform with you again. Hopefully soon we'll get something together. Thank you for
Thank you. I
your time,
appreciate
and
it.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
you, and thank you guys for watching. I want to encourage you, if you tonight at 8:30, in about an hour Pacific time, you can go to Facebook under Comedian Nazareth and laugh with us for an hour on the Live with Naz, which is a different format. We ask you questions and we get funny answers from you, and we laugh together. And the last few minutes, we ask you for a prayer request and we pray with you. So, love you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Please subscribe and tell your friends about the show and about the podcast. God bless you and good night.